Probably most experts would look at Prohibition as being a tragic failure in the country, and I think organized crime is probably the one group that really did benefit. There was a demand, people wanted a drink, and they say you can't legislate morals.
There were tons of nightclubs around Cleveland. I'm sure Cleveland was just a little Chicago.
There were what could have been defined as serial killers within the ranks of organized crime, but for the most part, I think they learned that killing was not a good idea, and generally speaking, they tried to refrain from it. If there was a reason somebody had to be killed, then they did it. My grandfather was killed in 1932. 4 out of the 7 brothers were killed in 3 different incidents.
The Irish mob was always on the west side, and these people were involved with gambling. This was a steel town. Everybody gambles in a steel town. This is how everybody had their own home brew in the basement.
For most of the big cities in the country, there was widespread corruption in law enforcement agencies and units of government and the courts, just everywhere. Organized crime families started becoming more modernized. In the 1930s, you started seeing more cooperation, and they realized that there had to be much less infighting amongst them, because it created too much publicity and brought too much heat from the police.
This is the way it is. The cops were making nothing. This is before World War II. And you had these old-time cops, and they knew their precincts, and you have all these people embedded. I mean, when I say embedded, I mean embedded. I mean, they're still embedded today.
So you put all those things together, and the situation was very ripe for organized crime figures to approach law enforcement and political figures, city officials, government officials, and ask them to maybe look the other way. It'd be a tough thing to break, because these guys had it pretty good. They were making a lot of dough on the side.
And then, then the cops had to go in and raid these. They had to get so many raids. So they would raid the guys on a Saturday night. Monday morning, they'd appear before the judges and fine them $25 and let them go. It was just production justice. Louis B. Seltzer, the editor of the Cleveland Press, Scripps Howard, was really the kingmaker in Cleveland. He always had a hand in who was going to be mayor, and there was always a kind of a silk stocking crowd. So Louis Seltzer got in his high horse, and a lot of the well-known law firms were behind this movement to get a reform mayor in to clean up this town. And so this group selected Harold Burton, and he was a Republican, a very high-quality guy, and he became mayor of Cleveland. It was going to be, really pure, and it just never happens that way.
But when Mayor Burton asked Eliot to serve as safety director, he probably did have sort of a sense of youthful optimism, maybe, that others might feel jaded about, but he had the confidence to know that he could make a difference in Cleveland.
But even for those local officers that would have been assisting him and cooperating with him, it's a little bit difficult for some guys to go after their own kind. But that's what had to be done, and eventually he was able to do it. In the beginning, I'm sure Mr. Ness probably wasn't quite sure who he could trust.
So that's what the tapestry was when Ness came in.